What's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 50 of the You Might Be Surprised podcast. Not drinking coffee, drinking seltzer, dude. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast. If you're new, my name's Chris. Welcome to the You Might Be Surprised podcast, where I talk and rant and sometimes have funny guests on my podcast. Now, it's episode 50, and just in case you guys want to know why I started this podcast, because 50 episodes is kind of a big deal. I started the podcast just because I want an outlet for me to talk about things. I wanted to be able to have a voice and try to be funny. Now, the more I look at it, I think that I should reroute the podcast because I don't know if I'm completely funny. But I'm gonna keep doing me, man. I'm gonna do me, and see what happens. And I also think I have a unique take on podcasts because my podcast episodes are like 30 minutes. They're short, sweet, right to the point. I talk about like 3 things, and I'm like, peace out, guys. Check it. My podcast is meant for you to put in to your ears at work. Made no sense. That made literally no sense. My podcast is meant for me to be in your ears while you're at work. All right. I'm trying to get into somebody's ears. Dude, let me tell you, I'm not in podcast mode. If you clicked on this, right, and you have no idea. If you really know nothing about podcasts and you just listen to professional podcasts, let me tell you, you have to be in podcast mode to film a podcast. You can't just press record and start talking to film a podcast because you need to be upbeat, you need to be on your shit, and you just need to be able to spew. And you got to be in a good mood. If you're not in a good mood, the podcast is going to be terrible. And I think that's just for like any sort of content. Yeah, that's literally for any sort of content, but I think it's more upbeat for single person podcasts because literally you are the star of the show and you need to make people click on the video and last. And if you're already in a bad mood and you're not feeling it, then the podcast is just going to do shit. And then at that point, you're just doing it for yourself. I mean, honestly, I'm doing this whole podcast for myself, but, you know, just a rundown, dude. Just a rundown. It's episode 50, man. Recording this thing on a Sunday. Had a wild weekend. Normally my episodes go out on Monday, but I think I'm gonna start changing it because I think I get more views whenever I post it midway through the week. I don't know if that's true, but I posted 2 podcasts last week. Double the podcast, man. Had Eloise Eftas, a comedian and actor from Australia. If you guys want to check out that episode, that's a good one. And then I also talk about put out a podcast last week where I talk about a gender reveal party that was done with 80 pounds of explosives. Hey, man, you're trying to tell the world if you're having a guy or a girl. You're not trying to reenact World War II, okay? Okay? You're not trying to star in a James Bond movie, okay? Now, this podcast, I don't know. Well, I do know what I'm going to talk about, but I'm I'm just not in the mood to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway because 1 podcast every week for the whole year. See what happens. I got my hair cut by a dude. And it was the weirdest thing in the world. Okay? If you never got your hair cut by a dude, it feels just weird. And before people are like, hey, man, I think you're being gender... like you're just what the fuck is it called? I think you're being like you're gender appropriating or whatever it's called. Hey man, no. If you're a girl that's listening, first of all, hey, thanks. Second of all, you wouldn't let a guy cut your hair. All right? And it's not a barber. It's not a guy barber. That's different, right? I would love to find a guy who cuts hair and actually knows what the fuck he's doing, where I know that I can go into a barber shop and he's going to line up my beard and make my fade look nice and make me find a wife faster, okay? Not going to a random barber shop and seeing a dude and then having to have him cut your hair and you're like, oh God, I don't know how well this is going to go, but I'm in it for the long run now. That's literally what happened to me. So on Wednesday, I go and get my hair cut, and there's 2 chicks and an old dude there. And I'm like, oh, hopefully I get 2 two of the chicks, because one of them has cut my hair before and the other one I think has too, and they've done good jobs. And then they both just leave. And the old dude calls my name, and I get up and I look directly at his face. I'm like, yeah, I gotta go. I just walk out because I was like, I'm not having my hair cut by this old man. All right. So I was like, I'll just get my hair cut on Thursday. All right. There's a place by my work. I'm like, I'll just get it cut there. I've gone to a place kind of like it. And I was like, I'll get an appointment, done, boom. All right. It's like the universe wanted me to get my hair cut by a dude. It's like, oh, you thought that you could not get your hair cut by a dude? Here you go. Boom. Dude. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I get to this place, man, and I don't even know the guy's name, but I'm going to come up with a name. I think his name was like Robert. I think it was Robert. Well, I don't know if it is, but the guy who cut my hair, his name is Robert. And I go in to check in. I'm like, hey, I have an appointment for 4. And they're like, okay, did you want Robert to cut your hair? And I'm like, I didn't really have anyone in particular. And I was like thinking like Robert was like the top dude. And I was like, maybe they'll give me a chick. And also, it's just like, most people wouldn't let a guy cut their hair unless it's a specific barber, like I said. And Robert's like, hey man, I'm going to cut your hair. Kind of like that. Kind of not like that. And it was the weirdest thing in the world. Like, I will never let a guy cut my hair again, even though he did a really good job. And my haircut is actually really good, but I will never let a guy cut my hair again unless it's a barber. You want to know why? You know how weird it feels for a guy to have another guy rub his hands through your hair? It's the weirdest thing in the world. It's like the whole time you're doing it, like you're just like kind of just like, what's going on? This feels weird, you know? And then also like this place too, it's called like the men's barber shop, and like their whole thing is to like give you a shoulder massage, shampoo your hair, and I'm like, this isn't happening, man. I normally don't do it at all because I'm like, just, you don't need to shampoo my hair or like give me a back massage. I just want a haircut. But since it was a dude doing it, I was like, I'm definitely not getting it done. Imagine, it's just like, the only thing I could think of is like, if I was getting my hair shampooed by a guy and I had like a hot chick walk in, she would just look at me and just be disgusted. That's not what I was trying to do. It's not what I was trying to have happen to me on a Thursday afternoon. Right? It was so weird. It was so weird. I will never have it done again. So he was like, hey man, can I give you a back massage? And I looked him dead in his eyes and I was like, no. He's like, okay. Finishes the haircut. He's like, all right, we're going to get you shampooed and out of here. I was like, okay, cool. And he goes and grabs all the stuff. And he's like, all right, let's shampoo your hair. I was like, I looked at him again. I was like, you know what? I'm good. Let's just leave. And he was like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. He was like, do you want something put in your hair? And I was like, I'll just take paste. And that was just weird too. He's like, okay. So he takes his hands and starts putting in my hair and shapes my hair and makes it look nice. I'm like, this is weird. And I don't know. Never happened. Never doing it again. Never. Never ever. So weird. Never ever again. Dude, I'm not in podcast mode. I'm not in podcast mode at all today. I'm tired. I don't know what to do. I'm constantly tired. I literally 9 to 5 suck. We're just like feeling uneventful sucks because like it takes everything out of you. And then the only thing you're thinking about is your 9 to 5. And on your weekends, you have like a day to do something for yourself. And then most of the time you're just exhausted. So then you just sit there and you're like, oh, I guess I'm just going to watch a movie and get food. And now and then you go back to working Monday through Friday. And then you work 40 hours a week for a whole year. And then if you're lucky, you get a vacation for 4 days out of that whole year. And then you just keep sucking the system off, you know? You know? I don't want that. I really don't want that. And I don't know what to do to make money to not do that. I have an idea. This is what I'm transitioning into. I really think I'd be like a cool behind the scenes guy. Like camera guy, photography guy. I don't fucking know, dude. But what I do know is I went and shot photos with my friend last week, and we went to downtown Milwaukee, and we had nothing to do. I had a spare camera. I was like, here, you take this camera. I'll take mine. We'll go do a street photography sesh. And the photos turned out banging, and it's like I didn't expect anything from it. I really didn't expect anything from it. And I took a really cool photo of a building, and I was like, dude, after I got home, edited the photos, I was like, oh wow, dude, these look super nice. And I was like, I don't just want them to sit on my hard drive and just sit there. Like what, like no one's going to see that. Like what's the point of that? And I was like, I don't really want to post them on Instagram because like, it's just like, I don't want to post them on there. And then I was like, oh, Unsplash, which is just like this free platform where you upload your photos and anybody can download them and use them in whatever way that they want. And I was like, okay, cool. I should just do this and just see what happens and just start putting out my photos. And I did that. And one of my photos got put on the editorial page, and now it's at like 175,000 views, like 1,200 downloads. And I don't know what people are doing with those views, or I don't know what people are doing with the downloads, but that's kind of cool. And then I was like, like maybe I should like become like a photographer or a videographer. I fucking hate those terms. I just want to work with cameras and produce things. I want to be a producer. I just want to create things. And like do some exciting stuff, be able to travel and take photos of dogs, or be able to sit down and do a podcast with somebody from Australia. Like, you know, it's like, I don't know, man. It's weird. It's weird being 24 and having no idea what the fuck you want to do with your life, but having some sort of success, but then also trying to have a social life and trying to go out, but then you're like so tired because you wake up at 5 a.m. every day and you work for 9 hours for a job that's just very meh to you. And then just like, that's just what you do, you know? And like my hustle mentality is just so not there. It's just like everything that I do is just exhausting. And then you get like this spark of luck with your photos, and then that just motivates you, and then you keep doing what you're doing, and then you're just like, now what? Like I feel like life's not all about the hustle, but it is about the hustle. And I'm not obsessed with making money, but I'm obsessed with making money in the way that I want to. Being excited about things, you know? I don't know what this podcast is going to be, but I didn't want to break my rule of not putting out a podcast for a week. And also just like, I need to, doing a solo podcast is hard because it's on you to do everything. And it's on you to think of something hilarious, and it's on you to come up with topics, which is cool. Like this is what you signed up for, and this is what you want to do. But like you get no feedback. The only feedback I get is like the views of like the podcast. Like, oh, I said something funny there, that got me views. How can I imitate that? Or, how How can I continue to do this? How can I continue to grow this? And like seeing no success at all. I mean, small successes is hard. It's really hard, but I'm the best to ever do a fucking podcast, so I'm out here doing it, man. And not every podcast is gonna be a banger. I should have named this podcast "Finding My Way Through Life" with Chris, because that's all I fucking do. I'm like, oh, I feel really funny today. Oh, I don't, but I'm going to put out a podcast anyway. My grandma's going to watch this, and she's going to text me like, Chris, you really need to be more upbeat and stop putting yourself down. People don't want to watch that. You know what, Grandma? I'm authentic. That being said, that's the podcast. Episode 50 in the books. Peace.